G'day, Stephen Kerri from offthegrid.com. On a weird and wacko day. Weather, as everyone knows, is a bit fickled. That's okay. Bit of a video on harsh climate gardening. People have, if you've watched our other videos, we have lots of stuff on what we do. But I just thought I'd talk about harsh climate gardening. People wonder why we, yes, I'm listening to YouTube on the outdoor video. Yeah, as usual. YouTube, 3 kilowatt, yes, you can do it. The Jess is down there flat out as usual. I'm going to keep this short. Harsh climate gardening. You know, people wonder why we do alternative gardening instead of hay bale, you know, raised beds. We've actually done all of that. I'm going to walk around just as I sort of talk. We've done all that, and after 11 years we realised that pretty much fighting the environment is really nearly impossible. It seriously is nearly impossible. The environment wins every time. So when we chose to set up this new property, we used all sorts of alternative gardening. Sorry about the music. Actually, I'm not sorry about it. But we did use all sorts of different methodology. If you've seen the other videos, we use static hydro pipes because we're off grid, no power. We do things like Dutch buckets, which are just static hydro. We use wicking beds, those are just being set up. We grow all sorts of greens. We grow just about all the greens you can think of here without any problem. But why do we do it, you know? Why do we grow in an alternative way? Harsh climate. We live in a very harsh climate in central Victoria in the Highlands. It can be -1 or 45 degrees, just like many places in Australia. It can be dry as a bone or drown you in a flood. So what we soon learnt was that what you got to do, how's the tomatoes? Tomatoes are going mad actually. Our tomatoes every year. We didn't have much success with the raised beds up in the last property, but all the wicking barrel tomatoes are really going well this year. And I mean, they're really going well. They're growing fruit everywhere. But yeah, why do we do, you know, what I would call harsh region, harsh climate alternative gardening? That's to get a result. You know, you can, I see it's all too many people, they'll buy their block of land, they think, yep, great, and they buy a heap of plants and they put them in the ground and fuck me, it's kumbaya, you know, which is what everyone does. We did it, everyone does it, and they think, great, yep, and then the first hot summer comes along or the first cold winter, and one of a few things wind up taking over your well-meant, or you know, your plans that you had for these 50 seedlings to turn into a food forest. And what happens is the first 45-degree day comes along and they fry. The first 45-degree day with a hot wind burns them to death, or the rain pelts down and floods them to death. We live in harsh climate. I include ground in that. Some people have very clayey ground, and clayey ground, you know, it's okay. You can deal with it. I don't need a lecture on how to deal with clayey ground. You can deal with it, but seriously, you need to understand that the clay ground will win eventually. Not maybe because you haven't dealt with the ground really well, but maybe because the sun comes out and fries the shit out of everything you've got, or the nutrients aren't released because you didn't put enough gypsum in. All these things, there's a million things, and I'm not open to a lecture about it. We've done it. Oh, the sun's come out, isn't that good? We've got lots of babies in. All these little fellas, they're only like a couple of weeks old. They're really good. These ones here, I mean, we're already eating off the hydrostatic pipes, and don't ask me questions, but watch the other videos. We've got videos on this. We're already eating all sorts of lettuces. We've got about 5 different types of lettuce going, and silver beet and stuff. Even got a celery down here. We do experimental stuff. As I pan down here, how's that for a celery? That's a mad celery. We didn't think celery would go too well in the pipes, but it's actually mad. That was put in about the same time as the ones around the other side. We grow everything in wicking beds, which are containers basically with a water reservoir beyond, at the bottom of them. We do this because basically it's not only the sun that pounds down that fries your plants, it's not only the hot wind, it's not only the frost that you might get, but you wind up, we even got strawberries going, look at that. Hey, strawberries. But yeah, it's a whole myriad of things that causes people like myself and Kerri in a harsh climate to just go, fuck it. It's too fucking hard, you know? Nature wins. Nature winds up winning. We used to put fruit trees in on the last property, and even though we went through a hell of a lot of trouble, if they didn't get fried alive or die of thirst, they got drowned. So what we've done, because this is clay, fruit trees will only tolerate so much water, and so we've got them in controlled wicking beds. So this is controlled gardening. We've got, these are only babies, these are only been in for 6 months or something, and they're really going good. They're all throwing fruit. We've only got about 10-15 trees at different stages, but they're all throwing fruit, and guess what they haven't done over the last year? They haven't fucking died, and that's the point of controlled gardening. See Jess, she's so interested. Say hello, Jess. Jess. Oh, yeah, right. Jess is paying attention. But yeah, you can do all sorts of things. Wicking beds, hydrostatic pipes. You can do what we did down the side here. This is our second season on these. These lettuces are only, I think the last video showed them, they were babies. And they're only, they're 4 weeks old, and we're already taking leaves off it. And with your gardens, I mean, you want to be able to eat this stuff. So we tend to put stuff in that is what I would call high turnover, meaning we can take some of that celery pretty much now after about 4 or 5 weeks. And they're just in static hydro buckets. Again, look up the video. Our tomatoes, well, they're growing tomatoes already. We've got tomatoes in wicking barrels. We've got about 20 tomato plants down. They're all doing fine. They're all like 5 foot high. Anyway, why do people just give up? And I don't mean give up, but why do people give up on trying to beat or do battle with the environment? The environment will win. So we use controlled environment. People do it in hothouses, people do it in greenhouses. Yeah, our whole outdoor kitchen and garden grow area is probably only about 12 metres square. So what you wind up doing is condensing everything. Now, it takes some infrastructure costs, bits and pieces. You don't have to be, I'm a builder, so I do all this stuff a bit, a bit more puffy than everything else, or a lot of other people. But you can do this stuff under simple stuff. What you're going to do is control the wind, control the heat, control the cold, and control the nutrients as far as this type of alternative gardening goes. So I'm going to leave it at that. It was just a quickie just to explain harsh climate gardening, and how we deal with it. I even had these little tomato plants pop up from some last year in the bottom of wicking barrels, so I transplanted them only about a week ago. They're only tiny, and they're like tripled in size. Simple plastic bucket and a bit of nutrient. Alternative gardening in harsh climate. If I had to put them out in the bloody, out in the open there in the sun, say round the wagon wheel, they'd be dead. This may be a nice day today, but it gets pretty bloody harsh here, as with a lot of places. So rethink your gardening perhaps when you start, instead of maybe winding up putting a lot of effort into months and months. You bought your block, you're happy as a pig in shit. You grow, you plant your seeds, germinate your seeds, and you put them out there and then the bastards just go and die on you. And we've been there, done that, and we've spent a lot of money on doing that sort of thing. Now we use controlled environment gardening. So I'm going to leave it at that. Procol Harum was playing in the background, that wasn't bad.
Thank you so much, thank you, Danny.
The sun's out at the moment. We've been getting pounded with rain, just like everybody else. Try to think about your layout of your garden too. We've sort of structured this so that the whole garden, if you haven't seen it, is right around the kitchen. We've got hundreds of what we call positions. Where we've got a plant that's called a position. Oh, friggin' YouTube with an ad. You gotta hate that. But anyway, cheers from Steve and cheers from Kerri on what is at the moment a lovely part of the afternoon. Think about your gardening. If you're in a harsh climate, you know, and I'm in a really harsh climate, harsh ground, harsh weather conditions, subject to drought, subject to high temperatures, maybe it's worth having a bit of a look at the way you grow. You can do controlled gardening. It's not a new thing, we're not reinventing the wheel, but you might get some better results than throwing the first year of your efforts at things in the open. And if you want to look into Dutch buckets, which are nutrient filled buckets that we use, wicking beds, how we build them, we have the videos on them. Anyway, cheers from Steve and Kerri from offthegridnoz.com, and I'll leave it at that. The sun's out, it's beautiful. About 10 o'clock for me. We'll catch you next time, guys. Bye.